Hi guys, welcome to our podcast series. I'm Rohit. I'm heading Nvizion Solutions data practice. Have been there in this industry from almost 20 years now, and I've been fortunate that I've been contributing significantly in master data management industry vertical. And I have a special guest, Rohan Salvi from Verdantis, with me for today's podcast. Hi Rohan, how are you doing?
Hey, hi Rohit. I'm doing well. How are you?
Absolutely fine, Rohan. Rohan, just for our audience, I want you to give a minute introduction. Just tell them about you, what do you do exactly.
Sure, thanks, Rohit. Firstly, thanks for having me here today. Hi everyone. My name is Rohan Salvi. I lead the overall pre-sales and solutioning function at Verdantis. Almost 20 years now in the master data management and MRO data space, and looking forward to today's session. From a role perspective, I have been fortunate to work with many customers with their, the entire data journey, starting with having a slice of their current scenarios, and then working with their pain points, challenges on driving the end solutions. And it's been across different industries: oil and energy, mining, natural resources, across different geographies as well. So really excited towards today's session and looking forward to it. Let's go.
Thank you so much, Rohan, for your quick introduction. And yes, absolutely, AI is buzzing, and this field of master data management and combination with AI, this is really trending right now. And I'm really, glad that I have you to discuss about this topic. Well, let's just start our podcast with the first question, Rohan. I want to understand from you, what does agentic AI mean in the context of master data management, and how is it different from the AI approaches organization have used so far?
Sure. Thanks. And it's a buzzword right now. I'll go to an extent that it is not a buzzword, and that has been established in last year plus. The agentic AI term has been used very loosely, and if you have to separate out the agentic AI from our traditional AI, what organization used to do, traditional AI, it's predictive, right? We train it, we train it in terms of how to go about classifying records, how to go about enriching, standardizing, and then it predicts and generates an output. And then it expects the users to do a quality check, quality audit, because everything depends on how we trained it. Whereas the agentic AI, this is more of an active role, where we don't train the AI really. What happens is we give the AI a raw input. We let the AI know what is my expected outcome. Like I give the raw customer data to it and ask the AI to identify and standardize the material masters from it, provide me a unified list with the duplicates identified. And agentic AI goes in, it plans all the steps that are required to be executed. It will then execute those steps one by one, and further it will pre-build a robust report. It will also mark instances where it is ambiguous, and that is where the human effort has to go. Okay, and that significantly reduces the time that is required to run such initiatives as compared to the traditional approaches. So something that used to take weeks and months now can be done in just few days. Okay, it delivers the entire end-to-end process, and it's more like if you have to think about a spell check versus a actual copy editor. Spell check will you run the spell check, it will highlight all the different errors for you to review, select the right answer, and approve. Copy editor will do all the fixes and then give you a summary at the bottom of it, where you take a look at the ambiguous ones, where it wants you to take a closer look and take decisions. So again, from a scalability perspective, finding issues was never a problem. We used to be able to find data gaps and data issues even 10 years back, but then humans would have
Right.
to review, fix things manually, and it adds to the overall time. Now with the AI taking the decisions, the scalability has changed, and certainly the commercials of it as well.
No, absolutely, I agree with you. I've seen this in working. Earlier, we used to take a lot of time in this manually data cleansing of records. Now with artificial intelligence, I can see there is a execution speed we have given to our
Mhm.
implementation time. So completely agree with you, Rohan. Thank you for the answer.
Perfect. And I think Rohit, from your perspective, you have been part of a lot of transformation initiatives, and look at it from strategy side, right? So, what do you think? Is the main reason why MDM programs keep falling short?
Well, very good question. You're absolutely right. That I have been part of a lot of engagements, and some have been very successful, and some have failed. And I have actually, closely looked at those projects, why they exactly failed. And the
Mm,
major reason of failure was that lack of involvement from the business side. Because
okay.
I always feel that when you're driving an MDM initiative, it's not only an IT initiative. We should not leave it only to the IT people that you go and implement your MDM tools. That way, it will never succeed because
Mm,
ultimately, it's all about data. And somebody who's owning that data, somebody who controls the data is a business guy. If business is not involved in the process, you will bound to have a lot of rework in your implementations and ultimately miss
yes.
your timelines, which will be called as a failure because everything we do is a time bound activity. Let's say if I've committed that I'm going to do the implementation in 6 months, but if I've not understood the requirement properly, or if my business users are not coming and taking control of the data, and specifically in the data cleansing stage, then you are bound to have delays, and any delay
Mm,
is definitely marked as a failure in my terms. So to answer your question, if you want MDM to succeed, it should be a business imperative, it should be a business initiative along with it cannot alone own it. So if business is involved, definitely you will see a successful MDM projects. Rohan, I believe you got the answer for that.
Yes, exactly. I agree to this. And just for additional context, before working on pre-sales and solutioning, 15 years I spent in implementation, and I can completely relate to the business angle of it in terms of the business user acceptance testings and approvals, which are critical for success of every MDM. Adoption has to be governed. Without that, an IT initiative on MDM is not going to fly. Agree.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, see, I also gave you the answer with some of the live examples because I have been part of some of the very big implementations, and majorly it's been my learning that wherever business is involved, where business is giving thumbs up that hey, I'm behind you, I'm owning it, then they're bound to have a successful implementation. But wherever business takes a back seat and they ask IT to drive it,
Hmm.
definitely they are just having waiting for the big failure to happen. So yeah, I mean, if it's for everyone that whosoever is driving this MDM initiatives in their organizations, make sure that your business is closely involved, specifically in the cycle where you need data cleansing, and of course during the UAT. That is again a very critical phase where a business has to take action. Well, moving on, let's ask you the next question, Rohan. So, Rohan, what do you see? Where do you see agentic AI creating the most impact in MDM today? Is it like discovery, standardization, enrichment, governance, or something else?
Okay, so I have two answers for this, and I think you kind of in your question itself gave me both the answers. So I'll start with the first answer, and that is the expected answer, right? Because traditionally, enrichment and standardization is where majority of the effort has been, right? We have large teams who have been going through the unstructured textual information documents and capturing the information into right attributes, classifying the records. All of that has been effort intensive. Whereas now with the AI agents, what is happening is there is an agent that does the classification job. There is another agent which runs the enrichment standardization activity. There is another one that identifies potential duplicates. Now there is also an agent that identifies if an item is active in the market, has it been discontinued by the manufacturers, and then an extension to it is actually getting a view on what are the alternates available in the market as well, because that's where your value will come, right? You have an asset that needs maintenance, and now if your original part is being discontinued by the manufacturer, you need to know how to run the maintenance with the right spare. And that's where the alternate identification agent adds value. Now this is where the agents are able to drive value from start to finish. Every agent acts independently, is goal driven, and delivers the end outcome. But then at the same time, because the agents highlight where they are confident and where they need the users to take a closer look, it actually reduces the turnaround time significantly. And it also gives a quick win for the organizations where the fast dollars come in, like the duplicates, the obsoletes. That's where the procurement teams looks at, okay, these are the opportunities to reduce my inventory or the working capital. And as soon as these numbers start surfacing, that is where the CFOs start paying closer attention and the initiatives move ahead. Now, this is one view of it, right? But then the second view, which is actually even more critical, and this is where I see a lot of executives now aligning their thought process, is where the governance part comes in, the durability part, where the agents now sit at the front gate. A requester who is looking to find the record or looking to create a record, the agent comes in, the agent checks for potential duplicates, it enriches, standardizes the information, validates the information before a record gets created in the ERP, whether it is SAP or Oracle. It ensures that whatever gets created is actually a golden record, and it follows a standard that can be used across the organization, whether I sit in US in Princeton, or whether I sit in a plant which is in Germany. And there is when you think about these gatekeepers, they have tremendous ability when it comes to translations. I create something in English, the same part is available in the German language through the translation agent, which ensures that your catalog or your master data is truly global. And at the end, you want to make sure that the bad record never gets created. So in a sense, this is the difference between the first answer, which is more on the get it clean, and the second answer, which is on the keep it clean. Today, more and more executives have an alignment on building this as a capability rather than just funding a project. And this is again, from a process perspective, this ensures that we don't introduce such redundancies on an ongoing basis. Now, again, coming to the executive view, right? So, human versus AI. So, where do you think the balance evolve, like from an automation or the human oversight perspective? Now, with the agentic AI evolving so quickly, I would really love to hear your views.
Well, yeah, before I answer my question, but I was very, involved when you were actually answering your question. And I just want to understand that have you actually done it live with any particular client before we jump to the, this question
Certainly,
in
certainly.
Verdantis?
Absolutely. And this has been actually executed with multiple customers who are Fortune 500 and a global food confectionery which operates across 15 different countries, having multiple languages as a part of the implementation. They of course started with the get it clean approach, where the whole cleansing was executed across different phases, across different regions, across different ERP systems, and eventually a governance system that is now sitting across 4 different SAP instances, including one SAP S4HANA, to ensure that the new records which are created feed into all 4 downstream systems, and users across each of the systems are able to leverage it.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what I was actually looking at in your answer, and thanks for that. Now, coming to your question, you asked me about the role of human in the age of AI. I mean, I'll give you an example from one of my case studies. So there is a client, a UK-based client, and actually they came to us, and they wanted an MDM implementation, but at the same time they wanted a lot of artificial intelligence. So we implemented the complete thing with a lot of AI
Mhm.
was there. But at present, if we talk about AI is still evolving, so you can't leave everything on AI. So there has to be a human element in when it comes
Mhm.
to AI governance. So AI governance, as you know, that it's a very hot topic right now. So you may leave everything to AI, like your data creation or maybe enrichment or any kind of cleansing activities. But at the end of the day, some human still needs to take a look at that data. That
Correct.
is still there. I mean, that human role is still there. May not be there in future because the way AI is evolving. But yeah, as of now, for sure, I feel that if a human governance is there along with AI, then definitely you are protecting your project from any kind of flaws. So AI is giving you speed, but the accuracy part of AI is still doubtful. It can give you 95% accuracy, but that 5% gap also you want to bridge, and that can be bridged with a human intervention, because ultimately any human who has been working in this industry from last 20 years, 25 years, they must have created that kind of knowledge about that domain, and if they are also involved along with AI, then chances of creating a high kind of data quality are supreme, that you are 100% sure that the kind of data which will get manufactured after a combination of AI plus a human governance, it's unparalleled, it's reliable, and that is exactly is our goal. So I clearly see that at present there is a role of human specifically for the governance. Rest of the things you can definitely leave it to AI, and AI is actually doing a fantastic job. And I believe you guys are also doing similar thing at Verdantis, Rohan.
Thanks, Rohit. And from this particular view, I think it is very important because again, what we're talking about is master data, right? So if something goes
Yeah,
wrong, even that 5% error, where AI gets you 95% accuracy, but you still have that 5% area of improvement. If that goes wrong, it actually has an impact where the production could go down, the plant could go down, and it has a significant, repulses coming from it. So this is where the human angle, I agree, makes a lot of value. And again, LLMs, the AI is it's learning, right? It's still very early days in terms of it's been here for many years, but the real explosion has happened in last couple of years. And the
correct.
good part is humans are continuously feeding it with information, with inputs where it works, where you give a thumbs up or where you give a thumbs down, and it's learning from all of that.
Absolutely, absolutely agree with you. Well, moving to our next question, Rohan, I believe Verdantis, apart from MDM, does a lot of MRO work as well. And this MRO subject is relatively new for my audience. So before answering this question, I want you to first explain what is MRO, and then my question, why is exactly MRO master data considered one of the most complex domains, whatever we have seen in the industry, and what key learnings from MRO can be applied to enterprise MDM strategies, Rohan?
Sure, sure. And this is a topic very close to my heart, so I can go about it all day. So stop me if I go too long. I know we have limited time today, but again, maintenance, repairs, and operations, right? From an asset-intensive industry perspective, uh, it's a process that runs, continuously, and it is important for keeping the raw material to the finished goods process being completed. Okay. And if I have to speak about the MRO data, right? So that would comprise of your material master data, your vendor master data, your service master data, where you have service contracts with different vendors, which are all part of that whole setup. Your asset master or equipments, which are setting up what is required to maintain your production up and running. Okay, all of this many times is already planned, scheduled, but then we run into a lot of chaos across different customers on different parameters. So I'll explain those as well. And you said that MRO data is complex, right? So why is it so complex? Okay, and the complexity lies in its structural aspect, right? The data is actually used by multiple functions. Okay? It is used by engineering, it is used by the maintenance teams, it is used by supply chain functions, procurement functions. All of these functions are using this data, and everyone touches and impacts it. Okay? Everyone has an ability to actually make changes as per their use cases. So from a process perspective, there is a lot of influence that comes into the MRO data. But even more importantly, there are few points which makes it really complex, and that is number one, when you think about MRO spare parts, like imagine valves, gasket, pumps. Like I can talk about a client use case, world's largest brewing company, over 2 million records, which we had a look at, and there was no universal identifier for it. Like for a customer or a vendor, you have the tax ID. It's one unified
Which
identifier.
company you are talking about? If you want to take the name for the for everyone,
So it
which
was
case study you're talking
Anheuser-Busch
about?
InBev, where AB InBev was the global customer, and here they were working with over 2 million records, and here it had same records appearing multiple times, and this is what they were looking to ensure that it is all standardized. From a process standpoint, 15 records set up for the same functional part because they were created by 15 differently people sitting across 15 different plants across 20 years of the system going live. and everything looks eligible. Okay, so there is no error message. System is creating no flags, but the inventory in the background is always doubling up, and this is adding to your working capital. So what really needed to be solved is how do we address it at a scale like this? From an engineering perspective, the data is complex because it's engineering spoken, right? The plant maintenance engineers read it, procurement reads it from, how do I source it? But from a context perspective, when you're looking at a spare part, looking to, use it for a business, the real context on how it is going to function, where is it going to fit, all of that is required. That is where quite often the generic MDM fails. Now, our agents not just process this data; they understand the engineering behind it. They apply the taxonomies, the dictionaries, the metadata or the manufacturer reference data. This has come not out of the blue. We have done over 250 successful implementations, and there is no shortcut to it. Without this type of data structure, the AI is not going to deliver a meaningful outcome. You can't simply prompt engineer it. It requires a foundation for the AI to aim at. And then the third angle, there were three things. One was the complexity of different functions using it. Then the complexity of the engineering level of data, and then who owns it, right? While all maintenance, procurement, supply chain are using the MRO data, no one owns it. And that is where the gap lies. Maintenance sees it as a spare part. Procurement sees it as a purchase. Finance, looks at it as a line in their balance sheets. So from a governance standpoint, there is a need to identify how each of these functions are going to affect the master record, and then which are the aspects or the attributes of master record that we allow each of the function to affect. Okay. Now, this is where the entire learning process comes in. Make sure that we set up the standards and taxonomy first, so that all departments are educated on those, are following those, and then to help them, you should always have the AI agents who have a good grip on the taxonomy and standards and are able to apply those consistently. From a point of creation perspective, it is necessary that for any customer, the domain context is non-negotiable. Without having an understanding about what role that particular item is going to play in the industry, creating the item is not going to add value. So essentially, if I think about MRO, because of its complex nature in asset-intensive industries, acts as a stress test, and that's how we actually envisioned MRO 360, which is our high-level inventory optimization, spare parts visibility, plant uptime driving platform. This is how we focused on, and the focus was essentially if we can solve this particular type of data, then rest of the data should be easy.
Well, excellent answer. Thank you, Rohan. Thank you so much, Rohan, for this detailed answer. And I believe people who are hooked up to our podcast must have got a great understanding what this MRO domain is and why it's so challenging. Thank you so much, Rohan, for that. And my next question is majorly upon that organizations who are beginning their AI-driven MDM journey. What do you feel that what are the most practical first steps to ensure success and a quick value realization for them, Rohan?
Yeah. So for organizations that are, and that's an interesting question, because many organizations are still new and a little hesitant to completely embrace the AI. Yes, they have programs around the AI adoption. There are budgets that are already been outlined on what initiatives can be optimized using AI. But yes, so there is always a pinch of salt that is required when going ahead with the AI initiative, and that's where what is expected is you identify what works well, identify the smaller and faster initiatives to start with, identify the domain that you want to focus on, identify who is going to be our owner for that particular aspect, whether it is a plant, whether it is, a business unit, identify that, and then, quantify, the pain points or the challenges of that particular owner into a number. Okay, that is what will drive the overall initiative. Like if I have to think about, uh, you know a goal versus a wish, right? Improve my data quality. It's a wish, right? It's not a goal. But eliminate duplicate spares in my inventory. Okay. Reduce the time which is required to search, to create, to procure items. That is, again, these two are goals where you have definite numbers looking at your historical data and you set up the targets against it. But then once you have set this up, once you have identified the initiative to drive the success story, then you have to baseline honestly, right? And that has to be established based on, maybe a real slice of the data. Take at a sample set from the entity, get a view on how good or how bad it is truly. Get the real view of it, and then set the goals. Okay, that number will eventually help you build an actual business case rather than numbers that are built using assumptions. Okay, from
Yeah,
the
absolutely agree
data
with you.
from the and to take a step further, right? When you look at such slice of the data, you want to make sure that you prove your business case. You go for, not just, a standard slice. You take some good, you take some bad, and you take some average. But for the bad, you take really awful ones as well. And that, basically, you look to run through the entire, agentic AI processes, and then you deliver the outcome. And the outcome needs to be judged, and that judgment cannot be yours own, right? It has to be from business. So the point which you made a few minutes earlier about the business involvement to approve the initiative, to align that yes, this meets the end goal that they were looking to establish, or this meets the solution where the pain points which were highlighted originally are getting solved. Okay, and then because of the scalability that we introduce using the AI agents, this now becomes a proof that you establish in days rather than weeks. Okay, and again, the cost of this proof is nearly zero. Okay, so from a business metrics perspective, now you have something that you can present to your leadership in terms of something that has been proven. And to give you an example, right, what your board would like to see is not, I deduplicated 40,000 records in my master data. No, that is not going to add value. What you really need to talk about is have freed up nearly 6.7 million US dollars of working capital through the initiative that we ran. And it can scale up, right? Depending on the, the slides that you have picked, you can always extrapolate and identify what is the exact business case. So again, from a process perspective, you prove, one winning case, and then you build from there. And while this is happening, on the other hand, it is important that you build the governance capability from day one itself. Because without setting up the governance capability, all of this could go south very quickly. Set up the workflow on which
Correct.
departments come in at which stages. Yeah, Rohit, sorry, you were saying something?
No, I said correct. I mean, absolutely. The workflow part is very, very essential because having that governance, because it's an involvement of multiple teams when you are creating, any kind of a master data. So yeah, agree with you, Rohan, on that front.
Perfect. And as I shared, right, you set up one visible win, and then that funds your next phase, and the momentum builds. Okay. Always, pilot success is something that we look to carry forward, and then move ahead with the overall larger implementation. It's much easier to digest at an enterprise level, and also the learnings get captured in the subsequent phases as well, because you can capture significantly higher learnings in a pilot phase as compared to a full-fledged 2-year program which has been driven or shoved to the throat by the steering committee. Okay,
Correct.
so now
Great
I
answer.
have.
Thank you so much, Rohan.
Thank you, Rohit. And I have one last big one, right? So, the 3 to 5 years now, what does MDM look like according to you? And what should people start doing so that they prepare for it?
Oh, great question. So I really need to visualize, and I'm actually doing it from quite long because I know the way AI is, changing the game around us. I mean, the future definitely has to be full AI. So earlier we were speaking about that there is a role of AI governance. Humans are still there, but I believe in future, especially after a couple of years, so you will say that because I know many of the organizations, even Verdantis also, a lot of organizations are working on a full-scale agentic MDM. So agentic MDM means that every step you take right now where a human is involved, that will be completely automatic. It will be a
Mm,
prompt base. You will go and say that, hey, I want to create a supplier record. Hey, I want to create, uh, a record, a material master record, or a customer master record with these kind of parameters. These are the source system you need to pick. So whatever information you need to give to your AI, that will be a prompt base. That it's more like a English language. You will mention that these are my source systems. This is the type of data I'm expecting. And there is a material record which I want to create, and that's it. AI will
mm,
do its magic. AI will plug in all those source systems, and it will do the comparison whether this there is a match or not. If it is a match, it will identify duplicates. It will resolve the duplicates, and it will create multiple agents. Those agents will be governing the that record. So AI itself is a creator, and AI itself is a reviewer, and there will be multiple reviewers of AI. So there is no chance that AI will take any wrong action, because that AI
mm,
is trained by a human only, and that has been done on the period of time. Because right now, as I said, that it's early, but after 2 3 years, AI will become a lot mature in terms of understanding data, understanding business, understanding the codes. Everything will be controlled by AI. So one AI will create, another AI will review, another there will be another AI which will act like a data custodian. It will also review, and once everything is done, then that AI will go and create the record in your MDM systems. And then there will be another AI which will take care of the integration. That AI will push the data into your SAP systems. So right from your data creation till it reaches to SAP, everything is AI. That is the future. What I'm looking at.
mm.
Any company which can do it, it will win this game, because the world is moving towards automation, and AI is leading the race. And if AI can take care of all this automation with accuracy, then I can clearly see that whichever company is doing that, that will win this agentic master data management game. So world is definitely going to change. So it's better to adopt it right now, learn it and embrace it with both hands, and then we'll see the magic.
Absolutely. And we see a lot of early adopters in our customers who are using Integrity. They are adopting to the AI agents very actively these days, where they want to onboard new AI agents, addressing very specific use cases, and they're also looking at developing additional AI agents, because the
Yeah.
whole flow of the AI agent adoption has actually created a wave where businesses are realizing value very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Even at Envision, we have a lab, where we keep on experimenting, and
Mm,
I'm sure Verdantis also have an automated data cleansing tool, but we also developed a similar kind of accelerator for one of our client. So there is a big Indian client, Himalaya Wellness. We actually we are doing their MDM implementation right now, but they wanted their data profiling and data cleansing to be completely automatic. They did
mm,
not any manual intervention, and that's where we have gone ahead. And our AI experts in our team, they have created a very unique kind of offering, which is the AI agent, which will automatically do the data profiling, very in-depth data profiling as per the business rules. You just need to tell that these are the business rules which I want to configure. AI will go and do the very detailed kind of data health check. So data health check is extremely critical for any organization before they start taking action on data cleansing or MDM, because you need to have facts, right? If you don't have facts in front of you, you will not be
mm.
convinced whether you really need that investment in MDM or data cleansing or not. So this agent actually goes and do the data profiling, and this agent, the second version of this agent, will do the data cleansing as well. So I'm already seeing a lot of AI right now, and I'm sure Verdantis also has similar kind of use cases where
Yeah,
you are
absolutely.
training your LLM to perform all this automated data cleansing. But yeah, there will future you will see that even the MDM creation and these integrations and the governance, that will also be taken care by artificial intelligence someday.
Awesome. Excellent answer. Thanks.
Uh, with this, I think we are almost coming to closure of our podcast, and I really want to thank you, Rohan, for taking out your time. And I want to thank every person who has attended this podcast. And guys, if you have any questions even after this podcast, please feel free to put your question in the comment box, or you can directly reach out to Rohan. You can directly reach out to me as well. We'll be happy to answer. Thank you once again, Rohan, for this amazing podcast.
Thank you, Rohit. Thanks to the entire Nvision team for putting this together and having me over here. Looking forward to working together and exciting days ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.